Hey there, friends, and welcome to your Lucid Living Show, where you join and participate with us in our essential conversations with ordinary people achieving the extraordinary. The Lucid Living Show is brought to you and sponsored by themindfulnessadvantage.com. Our wingman and producer is Andy Brine of hangouttribes.com. Thank you for staying with us for the next hour. My featured guest today is my dear friend Keszainn, co-founder of the New Earth Center and New Earth Living Foods. At 40 years young, Krystalle is in her 9th month of pregnancy with her first child. Krystalle and her beloved husband, Artemis, are advocates and practitioners of what is known as conscious conception, pregnancy, and birthing. Whether you and your partner desire to bring a new life into our world, or you have a vision and dream you desire to manifest, create, and give life and breath to, the practice of conscious conception is both elegantly simple and profoundly powerful. We'll be bringing Krystalle on in just a few minutes, right after our opening segment, First Words. Excuse me. We're all steeped in our current world and culture of multitasking and massive distraction, and our world seems to be accelerating at an unsustainable pace as well. In order to truly thrive, in order to imagine, create, and make our world better than we found it, we are required to rest the entirety of our focus and attentions upon what we choose to bring and birth into our world. For just a moment, imagine being absolutely certain and clear in regards to your greatest desired outcomes. Imagine creating clear communications and agreements first and foremost within and for yourself, as well as with your partner or partners, throughout the whole evolving sequence of events leading up to the birth and fulfillment of your vision and dream. From ideation and conception all the way through the birth of your child, or the ultimate fulfillment of your dream and vision, today we are exploring with you your own new map and new mindset of conscious conception and creation. Again, my featured guest today is my dear friend, Keszainn. Krystalle, thanks for joining us today, and welcome to No Ordinary Moments.
Thanks, George. I am happy to be here. That was a very theatrical intro. It's awesome. It's just like very producer. I like it. It's fun. It's fun. Acting.
So let's roll the clock back about 4.5 years ago, and to really expand. We just talked about this a minute ago. Let's expand the ideation, the idea, the concept, and the experience of conscious conception, because you're in your 9th month of pregnancy, but your conception, yours and Artemis's conception of having a child and a family, started 4.5 years ago, correct?
Yes, it did. Yeah, I definitely received divine inspiration or download, or I knew 4.5 years ago that I was excited to start our family, and it clearly was not time. So, one of the things I've discovered about conscious conception, both through this period, through my physical gestation of carrying, my child, and also through having started and completed a number of businesses between then and now, it's really fascinating to me to see the parallels between, birthing and gestation, like gestating babies and gestating businesses. And wow, that's about what I can say right now.
Well, and it's a powerful idea and concept, and as I was sharing with you just a few minutes ago as well, it's been a subject, one I've been writing about, but two that I'm working with my advanced training client partners, and also the conversations that have been happening and being shared here on the Lucid Living Show are all about consciously cultivating our lives, our visions, our outcomes, having high conscious relationships, a new level of commitment. So let's talk a little bit about commitment and patience, because right around the time that we met, you and I and your beloved Artemis, was when I started hearing you both talk about having a family.
Mm-hmm.
And it very clearly, it was an experience, and being parents was ideal, and it was something that you very much loved and desired. And as you said,
we should speak for me in that part. It's something I very much loved and desired. My husband wasn't quite fully on board yet. You know, we had a lot of things to discover and embrace in our lives, and one of the things that we were clearly overcoming had to do with abundance, prosperity, success. We were not in a good money place. We wouldn't have, I mean, now, I was about to say we wouldn't have been able to support a child, but you know what? If it was time to have a child, something would have happened and there would have been support.
We find a way.
Yeah, definitely. It just, you know, there was a lot happening then. We were discovering a lot about ourselves. And, you know, I'm 40. You know, even 4 years ago, the clock was ticking. You know, my biological clock was ticking. And then on top of that, we had some wonderful friends staying with us in our home at the time who had an amazing little girl who just, you know, to this day I have a very special connection with. And so there were, you know, little nudges, little nudges throughout my life, you know, for the past 4.5 years of, okay, not so little nudges of, yeah, you know, you're going to have a family. This is for, I mean, Artemis joked through the whole entire 4 years. Yeah, when Krystalle sees a baby, you may as well forget everything else that's going on around her, because that's it. That's all there is. Krystalle baby, Krystalle baby. The patience, what you said earlier was commitment and patience. And that is so key, because the commitment, you know, my commitment, well, I'll use the word commitment for now. My commitment was not just, okay, I'm bringing a baby in the world, we're going to do it now, ready, go. No, I was clear that I am called to bring a child into this world, but I'm called to bring a child into this world when I believe I can truly support and love and nourish and nurture a child. Now, I had that all physically hooked up. My body was physically ready to do that. But mentally, emotionally, I wasn't there yet. You know, it took until this year for me to be fully aligned, and for Artemis also to feel fully aligned. And still, I mean, you know, there's still, you know, fears and you know, things that come up. It's like, well, it's 9 months. You're not turning back now, which is good, because I have no desire to turn back. It's just very enlightening to, you know, just experience this window of gestation. You know, childbirth is a blessing. You know, it's going to take about 9 months. With business, you don't know that. Mm-hmm. But it's still important to have that period of building up and creating and understanding. You know, one of my big challenges with business has been, I want to have an idea, I want to put it into play, and I want to get going with it, and I want to make money tomorrow. Well, imagine what happens if you do that with a baby.
And it does happen.
It does, yeah. And you can't, well, you can rush gestation, but I don't recommend it. You know?
Right. There's some really important pieces here because what we're talking about is conscious conception, gestation, and birthing of a life, a human life, a baby, in this case, a beautiful bambino boy.
Yes.
But what you're modeling for us all is, and I find this really instrumental in my own manifestations, ideations, and creations, is operating from certainty. There may have been doubts, but for the most part, the sense I have is you were driven by a very clear and specific vision, and you were so certain about having a family that when you were willing to wait, willing to listen and pay attention and know what needs to be done so that you can be the best possible parent of that child. The question is, am I ready? Well, you're ready to say yes, but I know in my own experience of really stretching forward, this has been the year of stretch, that every day I get up, I'm like, oh my God, I've got to reconfigure my A game, because yesterday that worked, but today it won't. And so we really have to cultivate and create a space of being and spirit and heart and mindset that allows us to become more than what we were this morning or yesterday. And I really am inspired by your modeling that in story. So please continue.
Well, you mentioned as you started that part of your conversation how important it is to listen and be present and aware to, yes, today my message is as clear as it is. The message I'm receiving from my inner being, from the universe, it's as clear as it is. And when I wake up tomorrow, it can be even clearer, and it may be a different message. It happens that way. But in order to, I was actually blessed to have 4.5 years to prepare, because and even more, because my physical vehicle, my body, is prepared for this. I'm surprised at how many people, hear me and look at me and say, oh my gosh, you're the happiest pregnant person I've ever seen. I'm so giddy to be pregnant, to be carrying our child, that there are no inconveniences in this process for me. Yes, there have been a few times where I felt a little uncomfortable, maybe bloated, and like, oh my gosh, what is this belly thing doing? But it's been part of the process. It's been part of that's what happens. I know it's not, if I have one night where I don't sleep well, I don't assume, oh great, the rest of my pregnancy now I'm not going to sleep well. I didn't sleep very well last night, I'm going to have a nap today and it'll do better tomorrow night, and that's usually what happens. So, our expectations and listening is so key, and it's key. When I say listen, I mean listen like from the deep depths inside. Where is this inspiration coming from? Whether it's the inspiration to have a child or the inspiration to build a business, or whatever it is that I'm choosing to do. Where is this coming from? Is this coming from just like my little wanting me, my little ego, like, oh, this would be cool, oh, I need to do this? Or is this coming from, this is a divine inspiration. This has been a cosmically planted seed that is in your being, that is part of the reason you were birthed on this earth. Those are the things I want to hear. I want to be clear and in tune, and the way that I can hear those divine, like those cosmic seeds, is to make sure my body, my vehicle, is clear enough to receive my messages. So, having done a number of levels of cleansing and clearing, mental fog and things like that, being clear in who I am and what I do, that's one of the reasons, we started Juicing for Fat Loss and Blending for Beauty, the businesses we have, is to really be able to share, look, here is here's some things that have worked for us, that have helped us become really clear in who we are and in what we do and the choices we make in life. And yes, it's going to benefit your health. That's what it's for. We have a much bigger vision when it comes to health. It's not just about feeling good on the outside. It's about being able to make really clear, conscious, connected, aligned choices, and that we feel good about, that we feel connected with and aligned with.
That is so powerful, and so I just want to jump in for a second here for Station ID. You are watching the Lucid Living Show, No Ordinary Moments, and I have with me today my dear friend Keszainn, co-founder of New Earth Center and New Earth Living Foods, and we're talking about conscious conception, both in bringing a new life and birthing a new human being into the world, but also how we create and ideate and conceive of an idea as if it has life, because indeed it does. One of the important things I want to bring up and point out, again, that you're modeling for us is, at 40 years old, the conventional wisdom out there, which is not very wise or conventional, is that a 40-year-old woman is at great risk, and so is her child, that it's going to be a difficult birth. It may be long, it may be complicated, and yet there you are, a vision of health and clarity and beauty. Why? Because you conceived your birth in this way. And again, as you said, you prepared your mind, you prepared your body, you've gone through multi-levels of detoxification, not just of the body, but of the spirit, the heart, the mind. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Eating more living foods, juicing, blending, all of these things increase your health, but they also act as catalysts for your mind, your brain, and the part of you that's the Imagineer, the creator, the maker. We require high levels of nutrition and high levels of consciousness and high levels of communication and connections. And so those kinds of things and practices are integral to bringing your vision to life, or being a vision of beauty and ready to give birth to a beautiful baby boy. So,
Yeah.
now, what have you learned specifically along the way? What has your conscious conception, this 4.5-year journey, 9 months of gestating a life in your belly, which, here's the reality, is that I'm so honored to have you on the show. And in our culture, we have misplaced our honor of each other as men and women, as gods and goddesses. And just women in general are walking miracles. You have been given the ability to carry a life. That is, and you are a miracle. So how has your journey educated and inspired you in business?
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm like this close to tears right now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I deeply feel and receive what you just shared.
Yeah.
And it is a miracle, and it is the greatest blessing I've experienced in my life so far. Mm-hmm. To feel life in me, is really amazing. And please remind me the question you just asked me, because I was so.
Well, and I'm happy to, but I want to add a comment here, and that is, we are talking about how Krystalle's process and her experience of becoming a mother has educated and informed her as a businesswoman, but as a human being. But at the depth of this is the miracle, is the truth that, we take ourselves as such ordinary beings or beings of limit. And because you are a woman, and thank God for your gender, you again are blessed with the ability to carry life. We are required to live in our miraculous nature in order to imagine and create. So, one, I'm delighted that my comments touched you, and two, I'm delighted to repeat the question, which is, how has your life and business been transformed or catalyzed by this 4.5-year process?
I'm appreciating. There are a few things I'm appreciating more. One is patience, the requirement and necessity for patience, and also the blessings patience can bring to the table. When I first receive an idea, that's not always necessarily the time to have it come into manifestation. Mm-hmm. There's some kind of gestation period. At the same time, I also really appreciate, and I really appreciate this part. For me, there's a tangible connection and experience, a tangible understanding that I am working in conjunction with the divine. Like, I am working in conjunction with the universal life force energy, a presence much larger than I typically allow myself to either believe I am or experience. And that happens in business as well, if we allow it. Right? If I, for my business to be truly successful, it has to be part of me. It has to be, it has to reflect who I am in some way. Mm-hmm. When I say business, I'm talking about a legacy. I'm talking about something that's really going to bless the world. We can make money and bring in money in a lot of different ways, but I'm talking about business as in my life's work. Mm-hmm. Something I'm really called to, something I feel proud of. So another thing has been allowing the moments of silence and sacredness. And the way I can relate that best is, I've heard a number of times, great things are done in silence. And, just because you have a great idea doesn't mean you go tell everybody about it. But I never quite, I hear what that means, but I never really connected with, okay, well, how do you know? How do you know when it's time? How could, when is it okay to share? Until I, started going through this physical gestation process. And that's, when I first discovered I was pregnant, I knew I was pregnant, well, really from the beginning, but, I had visible confirmation as of about week 5. So I knew very early on. And I was clear that I didn't want to share it. It was my special, sacred gift for me. And I allowed it to be precious and sacred to me for as long as I wanted. And so I really didn't tell anyone for a few months, with a few exceptions. There are some people who I called and told, but I was very conscious of who I connected with. I called 4 people who I consider spiritual pillars in my life and let them know, hey, you're going to be a spiritual grandma. You're going to be a guiding light in this being's life. So I told people like that, and just the way to relate that to business is, be conscious of who your partners are. Be conscious of who you connect with and partner with. And I had very clear agreements with these people as far as, I'm telling you because I feel very connected with you. But I'm not telling other people, so please keep this to yourself until I give you the go. Mm-hmm. And they all did. Everybody honored and understood that very clearly. So is that helpful?
Yeah. Well, and you really, what you just shared is very evocative and provocative in the best possible way for me, because when we talk about being in silence with something, cherishing, and conscious conception, what that leads me into and down this particular trail is that we have the ability to elevate any part of our life from the ordinary, or what we perceive as the mundane, into sacred, into ceremony, into life as art and creating art in our life. And I have that experience in the kitchen all the time. People, when I get my cook on or my raw in the kitchen, people are like, "Oh my God, you're like an alchemist." And it's the ceremony of breaking bread with friends and family. And my teacher taught us that whatever thoughts you have while you're creating your meal, that's what you'll be eating and sharing. So elevating our lives to a level of artistic creation and conception, making our relationships sacred and based on high collaboration and high agreements and commitments. From the ideation and conception to the birthing of an idea or a vision, being in a sacred space with it. And to circle back around to your original comments, something that's very important is that, Krystalle, it seems as though your story is one of you standing outside of the conventional wisdom and the fear or the expectations of what it's like to be 40 and have a baby. And that is such a humongous piece for us when we have a vision. Most of the time when we have a vision, it's so big, it scares us. And that's supposed to be that way, because when we receive those visions, one, it's bigger than us, and two, the best ones are the ones where we get to serve, whether it's a person or a relationship or the community or our world. So that in and of itself is very powerful and sacred. So yeah, that was an excellent answer to my question. Now, the question I have for you now is, you're days or weeks away from giving birth. What is your high vision and your greatest outcome for the next year, and what is the legacy you desire to create and leave for your son and your family and for the rest of us?
The legacy I'm leaving is more for, it's more of a universal, and it's along the lines of what we're talking about today, seeing the highest potential in what we experience each moment of our lives. And you said earlier, you were talking about raising the level of ordinary everyday occurrences to sacred, and you even used the word ceremonial. Mm-hmm. And I'll add to that, for me, in a really grounded way, that the level of, the amount of enthusiasm and appreciation and just awe and wonder I've experienced during my pregnancy is wow, is astounding. And this is literally the best time of my life. And so what I'm choosing to leave as a legacy from this is, every day can literally be the best day of your life We just are, if you just look at all of the best moments of every day and remember the essence of what each day brings is more than just my physical body, or more than, I have this project to complete and these people to meet with. Yes, I have this project to complete and it's moving towards this goal. Yes, I have these people to meet with and I'm meeting with them for this purpose. Keeping my focus and attention on my purpose, my goals, my outcomes. That's I think the biggest message is everything is precious. It's just so precious.
Yeah, and purpose. There's so many people, when you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up, and many people will answer with, I don't know. Just last Tuesday, I was on Jessica Duell and Scott Scowcroft's show, and we talked about I choose to know, and I know that's a familiar meme for both of us, and it constantly comes up for me as a question. I choose to know, am I on purpose in this moment? And even when it comes to taking out the garbage, that can be an exalted and exalting experience when we do it purposefully. Those certain things we have to do, wash the dishes, take the garbage out, blah, 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 those are all parts of our day that get us to the next piece, which might be the really shiny piece, which is, oh, I've been waiting all day to do this. But if you're drudging your way through any part of your day, you're taking away from your purposeful, mindful nature, and you're taking away from an ability to be enriched in any given moment. So this is way more than a bumper sticker, friends, as far as cherish every moment. I mean, this is why I get up in the morning. This is why I live how I serve, and it's what I'm inspired to write about. Is we have these rare epiphanous moments where everything converges and we're clear and we're certain and we're in enthusiasm. And yes, the most important piece for me that Krystalle brought was the agreement and condition that we are in an exalted state in full embodiment. We are rooted in the ground and on the ground. And that's how we can have and receive a great vision and actually give it life. It's a seed. It has to be planted. It has to be cultivated. Has to be nurtured. Where does it happen? In and on the ground, period. So I really believe our exploration, our mapping, this extraordinary process that you're not only going through, but having the willingness and vulnerability and courage to share it with the world, is a magnificent model for myself and for everyone. So I really greatly appreciate it. What does this time next year look like for you, leading up to Christmas and New Year's, with your new baby boy and your family?
Well, we're going to have, we've already talked about this a little bit, that we're going to start brand new holiday traditions. Because we discovered, I love this time of year. I love the holidays, and for me it's Christmas. I love celebrating Christmas. I love the lights and just the sacredness. And it could be because I'm 9 months pregnant right now, but I've been listening to Christmas music lately and just bawling. It's funny. Just with certain songs, not with all of them, just so you know. Anyway, so this time next year, it may be too soon to start our new holiday tradition. We may do that in 2 years. But having a whole nother life to celebrate with will give a whole new perspective to the holidays. And it already is, even, with new life still inside me, still gestating. For me, I'm understanding even more meaning of this time of year. And so next year, this time will be a whole nother level of appreciating what this season is really about and what it really holds, reflecting on what we have received from the previous year and looking forward to what is going to be happening the upcoming year, and consciously creating what's coming for us.
Yeah, what a perfect and powerful and wonderful invitation. And as I refer to this year as being the year of the stretch, much of those stretches were conscious conceptions and based in enthusiasm. And like most of us, some of those were very surprising stretches, where things happened that I didn't plan. And again, your model is perfect, because if we worry or we think about what might happen rather than what is our highest desire for our outcome, even in the face of great surprise, and if we allow our mind to run down that bunny trail and make a story about, oh well, I didn't expect this to happen, what am I going to do, rather than just go, oh, okay, the river just hooked to the right, let's bank it and keep on going with the flow. Magnificent things happen, and they happen for us, like they're happening for you, Krystalle. In this time, we're just on the other side of Thanksgiving, and we're heading into Christmas and the celebration of a new year. And for you and Artemis, you're moving into the celebration of a new life and a new world. I know so many of my dear friends who are parents, and they just say your life changes and transforms in ways that you can't really understand until you've had the child. And all of those things can be blessed events. All of those things can be miracles, including changing diapers in the middle of the night and taking turns getting up. This is what's required to bring a life into the world, but it's what's required of us to bring our visions to life. You got to mean it. So what I'd invite you to do now, Krystalle, is offer up our friends and the people who will watch us in replay with your own call to inspiration and action.
Wow. And there's so many things. So I guess at the very beginning of what we talked about, we started with how important it is to have a clear physical vehicle to receive divine connection and inspiration, and to truly appreciate what's happening in your life or in my life. So I'll do my call to action to blendingforbeauty.com or juicingforfatloss.tv to get started, just clearing out your physical vehicle and preparing yourself to deeply connect with your own calling, your own heart's desires and connections, and to be able to really hear and receive your journey, your purpose. Having a clear physical vehicle makes life so much easier, or definitely more rewarding. Easy might not be the best word, but rewarding is an awesome word. So that's my call. That, and just be present. Just be present with every moment, and don't buy into what everybody else says. That's their belief. You can have your own.
Yeah, indeed. So how can people get in touch with you here on the Plus and on the interwebs?
You can connect with me at Krystalle Keszainn on Google+. Google+ is really the best place to contact me, because I actually pay attention and respond. I have, for example, I have a profile on Facebook, but I'm much more active on Google Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, blendingforbeauty.com. You won't get me personally, but you'll see my work there.
Mm-hmm.
And just Google. Google's the best way.
Yeah.
It really is.
And if you would, go ahead and put your links for juicing for fat loss and blending for beauty in the comment stream when we're complete.
Will do.
And you have graced us with your friendship and your presence every day, and especially here on the show. Thank you so much for saying yes in the final days of the gestation of your bundle of joy and your beautiful vision of life. And I have goosebumps saying that, so I'm almost ready to get weepy and misty here. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And stick around, friends, for our final segment, Your Moments in Mindfulness. So here's the question. What if you loved, held, and nurtured your dreams and visions within yourself as a mother does her unborn child? Think and feel into that question, friends. Your ideas and goals are living, breathing beings of imagination, energy, and ideation. Successful visionaries, people just like you and I, utilize a very specific mindset and skill set in bringing their grand visions to life and fulfillment. And just like them, we are required to envision our outcomes with great specificity. We are required to generate and sustain singular vision and enthusiasm throughout the course and gestation of our conception and creation, while keeping our feet firmly planted on and in the ground. To bring new life and vision into our world, we require authentic partnerships, first and foremost with and within ourselves, then expanding and evolving our collaborations, commitments, and high agreements with our chosen partners. Any idea or life conceived from love, inspiration, and from the certainty of intentions indeed becomes a sacred fire. Feed your initial spark of conception, and it grows into flame and then fire. One of my favorite sayings is, feed your fire, and the fire of your conscious conception will feed and enrich both you and your world. Join my featured guest, Jessica Duell, as together next week we explore and map a delightfully unexpected phenomenon and trend in corporate culture and business today. That is a new focus on and value of heart, of spirit, and greater purpose as governing and uniting principles. My thanks again to today's featured guest, Keszainn. And I'm your host, George E. Green, and this is the Lucid Living Show's No Ordinary Moments. We'll see you next time.